It was hard to see how Apple could improve on the first iPad Air, arguably the finest tablet ever produced. And then it went and did so with the iPad Air 2. You can talk all you like about what counts as too thin, but there's no denying that this new tablet is a feat of engineering that again pushes the limits of what makes a premium slate. Plus, unlike the iPhone 6 Plus, it doesn't bend either. Not only that, but the relentless desire to make the thing thinner has resulted in a better screen too, as the layers that make up the backlight, touchscreen digitizer and LCD screen are so close that Apple now claims there is zero air in between them. The result? A less reflective display that looks brighter and more colorful. And it really is. Since its arrival, Apple has launched a new fleet of slates, with the iPad Pro 12.9-inch and iPad Pro 9.7-inch taking up position at the top of the firm's tablet offering. Update: the iPad Air 2, while now discontinued, remains a fan favorite because it's a cheap, yet powerful enough Apple tablet. It runs the latest version of iOS 11, and although Apple wants everyone to buy the new Pad 2017, this is still one that we can recommend in 2018. But if you have the money, we like the latest iPad even more, as per our iPad Air 2 vs iPad 2017 comparison. iPad Air 2 is also much less expensive than the iPad Pro 9.7 and Pro 12.9. Despite Apple's recent upgrades, the Air 2 is still a top quality slate and you can get it for a slightly lower price point now. At the other end of the scale, the 128GB Wi-Fi plus 4G variant is now $629, £589, $879, down from $829, £659, $1,119. You can't buy the iPad Air 2 directly from Apple anymore, but you can find it at other retailers around the world, and if you take your time to search around you'll likely find it even cheaper than the prices above. The new pricing makes the iPad Air 2 a much more approachable offering, and it's still an excellent tablet more than 2 years on. It may not be a bargain, but it does give better value for money. We'll get onto the design in a moment, but it's worth noting that the design alone is a good reason to pick up the iPad Air 2. It's super light, amazingly slim, and will delight over and over again for the first fortnight of ownership, before you slip back to the standard tech nonchalance that creeps over us all eventually. Did the iPad Air need to get thinner and more powerful? Not really, but once you actually handle the new iPad Air 2, you'll be sold. At 6.1mm thick, the Apple iPad Air 2 is still one of the slimmest tablets on the market. It's not actually the thinnest, but we are at the point now where fractions of a millimeter really don't matter. Thinness for its own sake can be an error. There is a point of diminishing returns where only marginal improvements can be achieved, at the cost of structural integrity, battery life and overall performance. But Apple hasn't reached that point yet. The iPad Air 2 feels like a very solid tablet that can be held easily for hours without it getting uncomfortable. The iPad Air 2 is hardly a big tablet, but the Samsung Galaxy Tab S2 is both smaller and lighter with the same size display. Where the Apple device wins though is the overall packaging. Samsung's option is good, but clearly an assemblage of distinct parts. The plastic back, the larger bezeled screen and the rim are all competing parts, where the iPad Air 2 is a complete package, smooth and easy to hold in one hand. I was almost loath to put it in a case. It needs to be protected if you're going to be running it around town, as that back and chamfered edges will scuff up eventually. But if you're going to be a sofa warrior with your new tablet, the smart cover will do just fine and won't obscure the impressive design. The sad thing here is the loss of the silencing switch, which has departed due to size restrictions. Apple would argue that this is because the new control center makes the option available throughout the OS with just a flick of the hand. But in truth, I'm really going to miss being able to silence the tablet without even looking. The power button remains at the top and the volume keys have shuffled a little upwards now free of the silence key. But otherwise the only real design changes are the speaker grill at the bottom of the tablet, now a single row of holes rather than the two before, and the Touch ID on the home key. You'd be hard pressed to tell the difference between the iPad Air 2 and the iPad Air without a spotter's guide, but the iPad Air 2 has a deeper black bezel which helps enhance the picture, plus it now comes in gold to join space gray and silver. The camera stays where it has been, both front and back, with the new 8MP eyesight snapper not jutting out as it does on the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus. The fact no tablet camera needs to be that high-res, nor should people be taking pics with a tablet anyway, is something to discuss in another article. Does the iPad Air 2's design warrant the high price tag? Yes, more than any other tablet on the market. It brings a premium build, quality finish, great looks, and, while it doesn't need to be this thin, the structure doesn't seem to have had an effect on the actual performance of the tablet, and does add something in the palm. Before the launch of the Apple iPad Air 2, I'd have been hard pressed to predict Apple's improvements. I wondered if Apple might have shaved some weight off, added some bits to the camera, shoved an upgraded processor in there, or at least matched that of the iPhone 6, but that seemed like a very middling upgrade. But somehow, the combination of the above, plus the improved screen and Touch ID, has created a very complete package. Not one that I'd ever recommend to those that have the iPad Air, but definitely a brilliant jump for anyone coming from the iPad 3 or earlier.